Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. Guys, there is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. I'm Snorlax. You also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Max. We should be joined by Chef Jackus and Louie here in just a bit as well. But hope you've all had a great weekend, right? The starts of the week, we've had a little bit of volatility, and we'll discuss that in just a minute. But of course, I hope everybody had a great weekend, maybe spending time with your family, maybe just getting away from the charts. Of course, I hope you are ready now to tackle this new week that we have ahead of us. And what a start to the week, right? Bitcoin obviously seeing some downside volatility, pretty much everything in markets seeing some downside volatility. We will be discussing once again the impacts, obviously, that yields are having, the elevated dollar. I know these are super exciting topics for us to discuss, but of course, it's really what's driving the price action in the market. But before we can get into that, of course, updated thoughts this week. I mean, we've had a whole weekend of crypto price action, if nothing else, that we can go over. You guys know what I'm about to ask you, and that is to smash the like button for us. We are going to do our best to cook for you guys, not just what we think is going to happen, in unexciting things like bonds and yields and the dollar, but also about your favorite coins, guys. So if you have any suggestions for us, drop those in the comments. Don't spam your ticker. And of course, we'll do our best to cover the ones that are not, too low cap or too speculative. But yeah, hope you guys had a great weekend. We're going to go ahead and dive into things to get down into the weeds a little bit more with the market. Bitcoin has been selling off. It's a little bit deeper than we probably expected for a Monday, but of course it is just a Monday. As well, we are still trading within a range on Bitcoin. I think that much needs to be said. We're trading back into range lows for, I'm not sure what time we're trading back into range lows, but we are still in a range here on Bitcoin. So until that low breaks, we have to respect the range. Obviously, we got some huge buyback already there this morning. We're going to have to continue to monitor that throughout the week. But yeah, it's not like it's just a Bitcoin and crypto specific sell-off. We are seeing a lot of weakness in TradFi. It's kind of ironic because I think Chem Carson was asked what day the S&P would fill the gap. He said January 13th, and lo and behold, it is January 13th. So this weakness that we're seeing in equities was expected. We'll see, of course, what we get over the next week to 2 weeks. We have the inauguration here coming in about, less than 10 days. And we have talked ad nauseum about why that's important. And I'm sure we'll go over it again later on this show. But I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about the market thus far. We did say 2025 would be a year with a lot of volatility. We're already seeing that about 2 weeks into the calendar year. But how are we digesting this current dump? Where do we think we're going from here? Of course, guys, not just with cryptos, not just with crypto, but also with equity markets.
Yes. Hello, everybody. What a start to January. What a start to the week. Fun stuff, right? Fun stuff. I don't know. So it's such an awkward spot. Not that I'm personally doing anything about it. Like, my bags are packed. I'm sitting here, but it's such an awkward spot if you're actively trading, because it's like, this is not the area that you want to short. You don't want to short into, over 1 month range low with some decent volume. That sun is crazy behind me. Well, we'll figure that out later. But it's a really risky area to want to like suddenly just short the crap out of it, right? And like, I understand that urge to want to, throw on a big short or something like that, and you're expecting the breakdown. But this is a prime example of this morning. That is crazy, man. What is going on with that? Let me try to fix that. The sun is perfectly coming through my blind. It's coming through perfectly, and it was just glaring at the camera.
I can see it.
Dude, it's like right where I keep my camera. They moved the sun on me. All right.
Some directors would kill for that type of special effect, Max.
Yeah, we're trying something new here, BB. But
Tommy,
yeah, anyway.
have you read that Fiat hater comment? It's for real.
Oh, I prefer not to speak. If that's trouble.
I would say that BTC actually is not as bad. Like BTC is pretty all right. It's more like again, it's and I actually sorry Max for interrupting. I'm sure you can cook straight away. I'll keep it short. Just quickly, guys. I would rather say that it's not really BTC. BTC, all things considered, is holding super strong, but it's more about like the whole risk narrative that's kind of having a challenge here by the continuously rising DXY and the problems with the US bond market. So all things considered, if you think about it, BTC is insanely strong.
It is, yeah. It really has more to do with well, I mean, look, it's all one giant market at the end of the day, but it's DXY being at 110, it's US yields, you know, continuing to move up. It's this uncertain time in the market when, you know, Trump is taking office in a week and everyone's just kind of like on the edge of their seat, hoping that there's going to be a really smooth, peaceful transfer of power. And, you know, things can change really quickly, but it's a very awkward week to be in the markets, you know. So I feel like if there's going to be any major downside, it's probably going to be, you know, into the inauguration. But I don't know. I mean, we also have a week full of macro data. We've got PPI and CPI later this week. So, you know, the big question is like, can Bitcoin kind of hold these levels, or are we going to go search for liquidity lower? And I'm somewhat encouraged by the little buyback that we had this morning. I don't think it's enough to make me feel super confident. Like the level on the chart is, I mean, it's very clear. It's the 2025 open. Like you need to get back above that open sooner rather than later. I mean, you can kind of dink around here. That's all fine, you know. But you need to see a sign of strength. You need to, you know, flip these highs, hold the yearly open. You know, we need to start moving up. You know, but I was also talking to our community in Discord this morning about how, you know, look here. Let me hide these. These big bull market corrections, they're not, you know, this is not unfamiliar at all. You know, as annoying as this is, as much as we're not having fun with this, you know, I mean, even look at this one from last cycle, right? I shouldn't even have to show you guys this, but you know, we will. You know, this one was a 30% Bitcoin correction that lasted, you know, about a month. And it actually happened January into the very early part of February, right? And then Bitcoin went on to pull a 2x from there, right? We can go back, you know, to the two previous cycles ago. So 2016, 2017 or whatever. Oh, this is the Binance chart. It's not uncommon to have these, you know, prolonged month-long shakeouts in a bull market. I mean, look at these. Like I'm telling you, this was not. I mean, look at this thing, man. Look at this like textbook breakdown right here. You know, look at that. Was that easy to hold through? People were probably saying this was completely over. Look at this. Oh, here's your top. There's your complacency shoulder. Broke down. Boom. You know, I'm just saying, and that happened. The reason I picked that one too is that was like your first correction while in price discovery right here. Kind of like what we're doing right now. So here's a prime example. And then again, last cycle, you know, right here. First big correction while in price discovery. Last cycle, here's the previous all-time high. You can get these, you know, nasty shakeouts, and I really think that that's just more or less what we're doing is we're getting a really nasty start to the year. We're getting a really nasty shakeout. A lot of this has to do with, you know, this is not like a crypto specific issue, right? It's not at all. I mean, we can look, and SPX is pulling back. We were watching this level as well. I'm not worried about SPX until I see us trickle down below, 56, 50-ish or something like that. I think it looks fine for now. But I mean, the real issue is this, the real issue is DXY going literally straight up in a straight line. Like every bit of risk is worth 0, and the only thing with any intrinsic value is the dollar. That's basically how DXY is trading. So I don't know. I think things can change pretty quickly, but we'll have to see. I don't think it's the end of a bull market or anything like that. Like we can look at ETH BTC and others' dominance. Like it's way too early to suggest that like the cycle top is in and like we're not going to get an alt season. Like it's January 13th. If this was like if it was like March 20th and ETH was still like dinking around under 3,500, I'd be like, all right, we might have an issue. I think it's way too early. I think it's way too early for that.
Speaking of things can change pretty quickly, maybe in 7 days.
What happens in 7 days?
I don't know. One clown gets into office.
Is it the 20th or the 21st that he gets in?
I think it's the 20th.
20th, as far as I know, it's 20th. But I'm not sure if like it's going to be like something special happens exactly on the day. I would rather view it as what Max said, right? Like an entire period from 20th till end of the year. And I agree. Like, listen, let's not sugarcoat it, right? Like the way DXY is, again, it's not crypto specific drop that we are experiencing. Even Nvidia, the strongest asset in the world since 2022 bear market, is selling off. It's all around thing, right? And the reason is the rising yields. The reason is rising DXY. And if that were to continue, it's going to drag all the markets down, and lots of them are at the verge of breaking, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That said, I still refuse to believe that it's going to be like if we were to drop to some degree, which could be probably local, then I still do not think that's going to be a long lasting thing. Like it would probably be like 1 or 2 months at max, because this thing of Trump's inauguration, lots of people say that it's a sell the news event, but to me it's a paradigm shift. It's not like a news where a company announces an announcement and then you see the announcement and you realize it's some bullshit partnership. No, this is a paradigm shift in which you'll have the most bullish environment for crypto you ever had by the largest financial nation in the world, and that itself is just crazily good for the overall market, right? But that stuff is going to be here for the next 4 years, and that's a long period. And as Max said, right, this is very early January sell-off, and that sell-off can last for some time, again 1-2 months potentially, and I have to acknowledge the risks that are in the market. But I do not think it's going to be like a long bear market or anything because of what I just said. So I do not know. What do you guys think of it?
No, I agree, Jackus. I think we're in the blow off leg for the dollar and yields on a multi-year cyclical basis. It's just a matter of how extreme does the move get here over the next few weeks. And obviously we've kind of used the context clues of the inauguration as kind of that turning point. It's not just a vibe shift, right? It's not just more favorable policy for crypto, probably inevitably for equities as well. But it's also a turning point in the proxies for risk that have been headwinds and turns them into tailwinds. At least that's kind of the expectation that we seemingly all have as a panel. And I think it fits very well with kind of that cyclical time frame that you just outlined.
Yeah, I still think though that like the market looked pretty decent up until this point, right? And I wouldn't even say that like things cannot change by the end of the week, right? Because they certainly can. The thing is that this is going to be a long 6 days. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, here's the thing. I really think yes, it could be a long 6 days. I think we need to get Trump in office already. Like, let's get the show on the road. But we also do have some events that have historically marked some significant tops and bottoms in this market, being CPI and PPI. And one of the reasons that DXY and yields are showing so much resiliency has to do with potential fears of inflation, right? So if we get some constructive, bullishly conducive information this week, you know, we may end up putting in a pretty definitive bottom. On the other side, if the market is very fearful of inflation rearing its ugly head again and coming back, you know, in 2025, 2026, we're probably going to see yields continue to climb. So I think, yes, it'll be a long 6 days, but if we get some good economic data, it could mark a pretty pronounced bottom, I would like to think. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think it's important this week.
One thing that I've seen floating around was that Trump is basically making some way the DXY strong, the dollar strong, so that he can use it as a negotiation tool. With other nations like China, Russia, and so forth. What do you guys think of that?
I saw that. No, I think it makes sense. I couldn't explain to you the super nitty gritty as far as economically how and why that works, but obviously we trade the chart, and I think it goes kind of hand in hand with just the idea that the prevailing narrative with Trump heading into office is that we're probably going to see a cut in fiscal spending, that we're probably naturally going to see yields go higher. When in reality, again, I'm going to sound like like I'm beating a dead horse, but it's a populist presidency with a full mandate from the public. So they're going to be spending.
Louis?
Louis is locked in.
Hello?
I've never
Hello?
seen a glare like that from Louis.
I'm just finding data to back up my biases. How about you?
Same.
Nothing like a confirmation bias.
No, I was just looking back at 2017 bull market for Bitcoin. Did you know that we made a local bottom on January 13th, 2017?
I didn't
After a
know
30
that.
keep the hopium going.
Can you show me, Louis?
I could.
I'm a visual learner. I'm going to need you to show me.
Right, because let me share my screen first. That'll help. You know, January pullbacks for Bitcoin are quite normal, right, in bull markets, as we've seen. Are you guys seeing me? Because I can't look at
I'm hearing some weird clicking. Who is that?
That's just my mouse. I have a trackpad. Again, I'm on a laptop.
Oh, you have the ThinkPad or whatever.
Well, it's I don't know. It's a MacBook Air, but
Oh,
yeah. But maybe my mic is. Hold on one second.
It sounds like you're
That's
getting
why.
like messages or something. I don't
My
know.
mic is on. Was on the wrong mic. That's why. Now it should be better. You won't hear it.
Okay.
So this was Bitcoin 2017, historic bull run for Bitcoin. You know, went from a low of, you know, just around 160, 170 bucks to a high of 20K. And, you know, what do you notice about this was one, you know, back in this cycle, we were not even technically trading above old all-time highs, right, which was here. But we also saw a January pullback, which if you take a measured move from here to here, right, you got a 36% pullback for Bitcoin. And then again, this was, I think, in March, you had another 33, 34% pullback. But if you actually zoom in on this one here, you know, this was if you actually look at it, let's go even smaller here. Let's go to the daily. Oh no. Why do they do that? There we go. You know, this was a pretty vicious move. Deviation of the all-time high. All right, back below. And then they sent it up, retested it, and went. But actually looking at the day, right? You know, Thursday, January 12th, Friday, January 13th, you know, marked the low for the January pullback as far as seasonality is concerned, if it means anything, right? You know, but generally we do see pullbacks in January. Just thought it was interesting to note that, you know, we did see a bottom on this pullback, you know, around the same time we're at now, right? And then if you even zoom in even further, which I haven't yet, but I have a feeling it's going to look, why does it keep doing that to me?
TradingView does that, bro. When you're like way back in time and you change the time frame, you get cheated hard.
They don't want us to look at the data.
Nah, they don't want you to win, Louis.
Right. And kind of similar to what we've just seen, right? Like, because right here looked like we made a low, right? Maybe like over the weekend.
That kind of looks like what we just did this morning.
Yeah, exactly. We bounced off the low. They kind of curbed it. They G'd the low.
Louis, it's called a pit roll. Then they pit rolled it.
Then they pit roll it back. But yeah, this actually right here looks exactly like what we just did over the weekend, right? Bounced off our level. They like curbed it. It's like, oh no, we can't let the price go yet. We need our entry. Let's get our sub 90K entries and then let's go, right? So,
dude, the chat's saying I look angry. Is that true? Do I look angry?
I can't see you.
I think so.
I don't think I look angry. I'd say stoic, maybe. You know, I've got the sun coming in behind me. I'm very focused. Angry.
He's preparing his plan to murder the market makers, but all good.
I'm not angry. I'm just poor. That's it. I'm just, all my money's gone. I overinvested, buy a lot. Can devs do something?
Max, you know who's angry?
Who? Oh my gosh. The best.
Sorry, it's a little bit of an inside joke we have going in the Discord right now, but
find out who that was.
Yeah, and then again, right? 2021, January, right? January 7th, right? We make a top. We see a 30% correction off the yearly open. Classic 30% correction in a bull market for Bitcoin.
And Louis, that one, let me pause you right there. Go back and highlight that pullback, the January pullback in 2021. That one. Okay. Yeah. The most important thing to note about that pullback is that altcoins got eviscerated. And when Bitcoin rallied out of that January 2021 drop, that is when alt season began. Not before.
Yeah.
After we came out of that gully. Okay. So just remember that, to all of you being like, oh, the cycle's over. Oh, alt season, it's never going to happen. Oh, ETH is never going to rip. I'm like, it's more likely that this time is not different, and we are somewhere in that January 2021 correction. And when you come out of your first high time frame correction while in price discovery for Bitcoin, then and only then do you get alt season. So let's hope this Bitcoin correction is donezo, because when you rip out of it, that is alt season. It's that simple.
Yeah, and they swept the lows quite a few times here as well, right? So 2 deviations back inside. So yeah, I mean, January pullbacks for Bitcoin, you know, post halving year are very normal in business as usual. So people calling for the end or a bearish January 13 days in. I don't know. Let's see how the month ends, right? Let's see how the month ends. I mean, having a bullish January also isn't, you know, like an end or be all for a cycle either, right? So, just something I noticed.
Do me a favor. Go back to that January pullback, Louis, the one we were just looking at. Mm-hmm. Zoom in a little bit on it. Maybe. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, daily's fine. click in the upper left corner, your trading view, add another ticker below it. Okay, and put others dominance down there, others.d, and then put it on a new pane. You can get rid of your RSI. Look at when alt season began, guys. That January correction was your first high time frame correction while Bitcoin was in price discovery last cycle. And then when it came out of that, alts ripped face. I'm just telling you that, like, this is that correction. Whether Bitcoin goes down to 85 or whether it goes down to, sweeps the equal lows at $200 from the 2014 cycle, you know, there's some equal lows there. It doesn't matter where it goes to, okay? The point is, this is your first high time frame correction while in price discovery of this new cycle.
Yeah.
And when you come out of this, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next month, whether it's next quarter, I don't think it will be next quarter. I think it will be at the latest early February, at the very, very latest. That's when alt season begins. And yeah, we've put in our bottom on like altcoins relative to Bitcoin. Others dominance, the bottom is in. But it's not going to start ripping day after day after day until Bitcoin climbs back up into price discovery. These bull market shakeouts are very, very standard, guys. These things happen all the time. Every single cycle has multiple 20, 25, 30, 35% corrections, and then they climb back up into price discovery.
Yeah,
You're about to see altcoins go bananas when Bitcoin finally finishes dinking around here. And it might go a little bit deeper. I don't know. I hope the bottom is in. We dipped sub 90 this morning and we got a pretty immediate reaction. So I'm hoping that this is not a dead cat bounce, you know, and we're going to roll over. But again, we do have kind of a backloaded week with data. And we also, it's a really weird time to be invested in this market because you have Trump, you know, the next president about to take office here in a week. So it's like, what's going to happen during that week? And also, what's the data going to look like? So just saying, like, everybody wants to be like a swing trader and be fully deployed and like riding a bull market, you know, balls to the wall until they get stress tested, you know, and this is your stress test. This is your first big stress test. And by the way, it won't be your last one in this bull market. It won't be your last stress test. So just saying, like, I don't have the luxury of like not showing up and just like not checking price for a day. I have to do that.
Yeah.
Some of you guys, even though it would hurt our viewership, turn the show off and just go to the gym or something. Like just wait. Set some alerts, sub 90K for Bitcoin. If it doesn't trigger, don't open the chart and just wait. All right. And just wait. Or you can watch the show. But if you are going to leave and go to the gym, at least hit the like button before you go. All right. It's real simple.
Yeah. A majority of the gains seen in altcoins for at least the last two cycles is usually the whole year of following the halving year, right? So like Bitcoin goes first, altcoins tend to move later on in the cycle, tending usually, you know, starting January, you start to see, you know, the move start, right? But that move goes on for about a year, right? Overall, right? So this is January 17 to, you know, January 2018, right? About a year, right? And we saw the same thing here too. So I think it's a little too early to start calling for, you know, an end to something that usually takes a whole year to play out 13 days into the year. Like, this is what we've seen. So yeah, so I mean, I'd rather wait, you know, at least a couple more months before making a bold statement like that, right? So, but again, we see about 365 days of you know, price appreciation for altcoins in the year following the halving, right? Which is this year. So, you know, we're 13 days in. Obviously, we didn't, you know, shoot up off the jump, but again, we're 13 days in. So just have some patience, relax. And you look at the data that we have in front of us, which is previously we've seen this is the time to be allocated, right? Yeah, that's basically all I have to say with that.
Let me show you something. You guys have all probably seen this chart before. I shared it a long time ago, and we were like back over here in like May. And I just kept it. I just have it saved. But here is Bitcoin with US presidential elections overlaid. And I just added some red lines for when the inaugurations are. So let's go like all the way back through history and just look at like US presidential elections and then inaugurations, right? This was back in 2012. So boom, kind of chopping, ranging like we've been doing. Kind of move up a little bit after the election, not really do much, and then after the inauguration, we rip. Let's look at this. Last or 2 cycles ago, leading into the election, US presidential election in November of 2016. And then you hit, 3rd week of January, you get a nasty shakeout before new president comes in, which was actually Trump, and then we rip face out of it, right? Boom. What are we doing last cycle? Big, giant, kind of bullish accumulation range leading into the US presidential election. Big high time frame correction here. We dip into the inauguration, President Joseph Biden, and then we move up out of it. What are we doing right now? More or less the same thing. Bullish accumulation leading into the election, inaugurations coming up. This cycle hasn't been different than previous ones. Any which way I look at it, it hasn't been different. Like nothing about it. Nothing. The only distinct difference, which I don't even really count it as a big difference because we had a weird double top last cycle. Honestly, we should have gone higher, but not here to talk about that, is that we technically made a new all-time high before Bitcoin halving. That was like the only distinct difference, and we barely made a new all-time high. Everything else about this cycle has been literally the same.
And we paid for that.
What's that?
We paid for that with 8 months of chop and sideways afterwards.
Yeah, they definitely made us work for it, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just like, why is it so bold to say that this time is not different? Like why is everybody coming out now that like, we're in a correction being like, oh, it's so clear to me that this time is different. Like, this didn't happen last cycle. And like, E should be well above where it is right now. No. Oh, DXY is ripping and it's not going to turn around. Dollar milkshake. I'm like, well, we've seen a pronounced DXY bull trap every single cycle. I mean, it's like the best case for simulation theory is literally like how Bitcoin trades. It's crazy. I don't think that shit's real, but you know what I mean. Like this hasn't been different. Like I'm not willing to like bend the knee and concede January 13th that like this time hasn't been different. But it actually is going to be different, even though it hasn't been different for years. And somehow doing some mental gymnastics and trying to convince myself that Trump coming into office, being the first like sitting US president to have a really even like a firm opinion on crypto, but a bullish, overwhelmingly bullish, not just Bitcoin, but crypto stance. I'm like, that's not bearish, it's not a sell the news event. It's not just like, Trump winning the election in November wasn't a sell the news event. It was the opposite. I don't know, man. I just see a lot of people throwing in the towel right now. They're throwing in the towel because the ETH shakeout. And I get it. Trust me, ETH is a sack of dog poop. 100%. I'm with you. It has done nothing but torture me all cycle. Like, do you know how close I've been to like generational wealth? And the only thing standing between me and literally changing my entire the bloodline of Max for the next 100 years is ETH ripping over 5K. That's the only thing standing in the way of me and generational wealth. And I've been teased. I've been teased for over a year. You know how annoying that is? I'm not giving up on it, man. Like, it's happening. It's happening. Like, you can hold through this shit and you can be tough and you can be a warrior and you can be like, hey, I recognize that this happens and I want, huge gains and these shakeouts happen and I'm swing trading. I'm not scalping. And you can just take that shit on the chin and you can be tough about it, and you can be rewarded for it, or you can panic sell. And good luck. You can buy back, you can buy back whenever you want. But here's the plan. We're going to rip. All Max's bags are going to qualify for long-term cap gains. I'm going to sell. I'm going to go boom. I'm going to buy my wife a house. The end. That's it. That's how the story ends. The prophecy will be foretold. It is. So
I
don't know.
absolutely agree with you, Max, that 13th of January is just too early to throw in the towel. Like, that's absolutely spot on. And as I said, I think that nothing changes from the fact that we are running into the most bullish crypto conditions in its history, with the new regulation, new administration. That said, obviously, we can get some local hiccups and we must acknowledge them. And yes, they can continue for a little longer. But again, it's too early, 13th of January, to be throwing in the towel saying it's like everything is over,
Jackus, let me jump in real quick. Okay. I messaged you guys in our group chat. I have to log off right now. Right.
Okay.
These guys, they're going to send you off with an absolutely kick-ass second half of market check. Do me a favor before I go, hit the like button. All right. Hit the like button. These boys are going to cook for you. All right. But guys, I will see you this afternoon and I'll be on market check tomorrow. All right. Louis, I'll put you back up.
See you,
you
Max.
guys.
See you, Max.
And I mean, yeah, going back to what Jack is saying, like, and even Max, like, they're not going to make, you think they were going to make it easy, right? You think they were going to make this easy? No, they're going to make it as difficult as possible to be able to capitalize on this environment, which I still believe is coming, right? So yeah, it's not going to be easy. Your everyday guy is not going to be able to capitalize on this investment, right? And profit off of it, right? They're going to make it difficult. It's going to be a hard road. It's been a hard road. I was just telling the Discord, I don't know what you guys think about it. But I mean, I came in 2018, so I came in at the tail end of that cycle, right? But just, obviously looking at the chart, I don't know what it was like going through the 2017 bull market. But I know what it's like going through a full bear and bull in 2018 to 2021. But personally, I think as far as being an altcoin investor, this is that even Bitcoin, right? I think this has definitely been one of the hardest psychological cycles to kind of hold through and be in. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Jackus, you want first?
There you go.
I think I wasn't around for more than just the 2021 cycle, so I have to preface it with that. I would say the biggest difference from my understanding is, and I think it contributes a lot to the sentimental swings that we've seen, is that people move down the risk curve into, not just altcoins, but super high beta way sooner in the cycle than they have previously, right? Like before, I mean, alt season itself is kind of a meme, right? Because we've had these pockets of severe altcoin outperformance at pretty much every turn since the cycle bottomed. But everybody is just like looking for this alt season where, literally everything is going to pump. So naturally they allocate to the thing that they think is going to return them the most amount of multiples when, as we've seen, it's going to take basically until the very end of the cycle before we see price action like that. And I think, contributing to that, you have majors, specifically the ones like ETH and Solana that have a lot of meme coins and a lot of shit coins on chain, where when the tide comes out, or when the tide comes in rather, you really see who's swimming naked. And it's really everybody who's been moving further and further down the risk curve, waiting for this alt season, waiting for these returns, and they're just getting these terrible drawdowns instead. I think that's a big reason why you've seen, I think, such a sentimental, like, I wouldn't call it a depression, but you see a lot of actors within the space a lot more dejected, and I think like tired, exhausted than in previous cycles.
Yeah, that's a spot on take, Tommy. It comes to the fact as well that if we look at the time frame of this one, it's way longer than any other in the past. Like the time it really takes for stuff to move. And it's not that we have been in a bear market or something. Like if you look at like the only thing that's been in a bull market, I would say, in crypto so far has been Bitcoin, right? And the rest have been the rest had random pumps. Like we saw stuff pump here and there, and we saw ETH move up, right? Like we saw ETH move up, but to me bull market starts above prior cycle all-time highs, like fully. Until then it's sort of like a range, complacency, bounce on a cycle time frame, if we can call it that way. But to that degree, again, there has really not been any bull market whatsoever this cycle, and that's what is frustrating so far. And you've spoken about alt season. To me, because there's like so many definitions of it, and some people will tell you, oh, we already had alt season. Some people will tell you, no, not at all. To me, it has always been when alt BTC pairs start to outperform, like when the whole space starts to outperform not just BTC but generally other assets too. And I tend to, I mean, fact wise, right? Like if we look at the raw facts, we have not seen the space to outperform. Like we saw BTC move up, but BTC has not outperformed Nvidia this cycle. BTC did outperform like SPX, but that is due to its market capitalization nature, right? So to me, proper alt season really is when ETH BTC goes up, and ETH BTC has been going down so far this entire cycle. So I tend to say that we have not yet seen alt season, and I do not think the cycle top is in for that very reason too. But again, it might get postponed due to the local problems that we see in the bond market.
That's how I view it too. And I was saying this last week. I think any sort of series of events that leads to a breakout on something like ETH taking significantly longer, like a few months longer, is just, for me, that just means I'm going to recalibrate my price targets for the cycle higher. I don't know if you can relate to that, Jackus, but for me, I think the time that we spend within this range, specifically on ETH, it's just going to be that much more violent when we do finally break out above something like 4K, and for all coins, obviously different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't deny the fact that we are sitting at somewhat of a range low here. So I can't bring myself to get bearish at range lows the same way we can't get bullish at range highs. So let's see how this resolves down here. I mean, even back here, this was before the 2021, right? We had a really, we had a pretty vicious bear trap here on the DXY going into the new year as well. I mean, not DXY, I'm sorry, ETH BTC, right? Like this was pretty vicious, where it looked like we had the bottom. Everyone's probably like, alt season, here we go. Oh shit, right? And then we went. So I'll be watching for something like this on the lower time frame, watching for a deviation, final bear trap, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised at the grand finale of what has been this super painful slow bleed to the downside, right? Like why wouldn't they put in one last whoop, something like that, just for the grand finale, right? The final puke back inside, something like that. So that's kind of my base case right now. That especially at where we're sitting on the chart, right? Like this is our biggest demand zone, and we're sitting right on top of it. So wouldn't recommend getting bearish this pair, where we're at in the chart specifically.
this crazy chart if you think about it.
It really is, man. Every time I look at it, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Oh man, a lot of pain in that chart.
And a lot of good though, right? If you've been playing the right tickers, you know, like I've made money in this environment, right? Like
Yeah.
you just gotta be doing the right things. But yeah, it's not easy mode, right? And who knows if we ever get easy mode, right?
People,
Probably just gonna get harder and harder. But
no, I do not think that. Like easy periods always come once in a while. But listen, if you guys outperform Bitcoin in this entire period, then big clap, because ETH has been down this entire time, and so has all the alts. So again, if you are up more than BTC, and there will be some people, and I find it absolutely cringe, and I hate that word, but that will try to diminish you, like, oh, if you only outperform BTC, that is not that hard. It is, and if it wouldn't be, then everyone else would be doing it. And this chart clearly says so. So
People are down bad, man. As much as it kind of feels like it did at certain points in the previous range, and Bitcoin is 50 to 100% higher than where it was trading. Maybe some of that is just like the effect where people go up 5 multiples, draw down 50 to 60%. And they're like, damn,
yeah,
I'm so down bad, but I'm still up like 100 to 200% more than I was a few weeks ago. Maybe it's some sort of effect like that, but I really think there's so many people that are probably rotating late to on the newest on-chain meta, and let's be real, there's a different one every 2 or 3 weeks. That's the new future of finance. And then all of it's just like a vacuum, man. It just gets all sucked out at once from these metas. And if you're holding them, you get draw down pretty quickly. But I don't know. On-chain is I think, Jack, as you said it, it's there's always a period of easy mode. And there are going to be times where on-chain is not nearly as PvP, where there is significant portions of liquidity coming in. And it's not all just going to be retail. I remember the last cycle, it was not retail that was buying my on-chain bags. It was a 3AC, it was Alameda, it was FTX, it was Tiger Global, these huge institutions that really want crypto exposure that ultimately capitulate into beta or to value. And that's, that's when I know it will be a full-blown alt season, is when the on-chain environment, maybe we never see those conditions again. I don't know that I believe that. I do think that we can return, maybe not quite to like, okay, this is the newest ohm fork of the week type of environment, but definitely highly speculative and lots of opportunity. Not quite so PvP and insider cabal-y. Or if it is insider cabal-y, it's a little bit it's a fair chance at getting in at the cabal.
indeed. No, I really think that things are kind of getting extended as much as possible and trying to shake every market participant and test their patience. And the thing is that these conditions can last for a while, and there is nothing you can do about it. That's the toughest part. Like, people want to force the upside. We all want to see things up, but all you can do is kind of like understand them, but having enough patience for the market to let it play out. And I know that it's way easier said than done, because you are like sitting there and be like, but I've been patient enough. And you were, again, this is the longest the market has been on this sort of, like zoomed out, slow grind up way, pretty much. Like, I understand many alts are down a lot. They are back to their October levels or something. But if you look at like ETH or like majors, it's kind of like a slow grind up. Basically been in a range for a year. Since GCR told us that it's time to buy the liquidations. Lots of alts are still at the same price, or maybe even slightly lower than that. So even ETH is basically at the same price as it was during that April shakeout right
Yeah.
now. So
I mean, that's the signal, right? Like that's the signal that the bull market hasn't happened, or rather that retail hasn't been given an opportunity to get rich yet this cycle, which is typically indicative of of the end of the cycle.
But that said, as I say, market can do whatever it wants, and it can stay here for another, period, and that period could be anything. But yeah, I'm not saying again. I'll end it kind of at least like this take on the equation that I just find it hard to believe that it would be over with the administration that's coming in. And I do not think it's a sell the news event, because sell the news event are different. They are when Verge. I do not know if you guys remember this, but like when Verge announced that they announced a major partnership with a major company, and the price rallied like 100%, and then they said it was a porn hoop. And it was a major company, big one. They didn't lie, but like that's a sell the news event. But when you have a long-term paradigm shift, that's something else. It's like when Fed would announce that they are going to start quantitative easing beginning of March. If they would announce that now, do you think that the quantitative easing is a sell the news event? Maybe locally, but like what it means is that they will keep on buying, assets, particular bonds and so forth. Do you think that when central bank, like lots of bears, right? They told me, hey, gold is too overextended. It must start to sell off now. And guess what? It keeps on rallying because central bankers keeps on accumulating. So it's not like sell the news event can be sell the news event, but it depends on what the news is what I'm trying to say here. So with that in mind, I just find it hard to believe that like this whole administration on the long enough time frame, and that long enough time frame is at max, in my opinion, well, at minimum until the end of the year, is not going to produce some outsized returns.
I agree. When you have these higher time frame thematic narratives, people expect like a snap of the fingers, and that gets priced in. Best way to think about this, right? Bitcoin, went from 65, 70K all the way up to 95, 100K in just a few weeks after Trump was elected. Obviously, it went higher than that, but that initial news-driven impulse, that volume really came from, Trump being elected. But oh man, I think I lost my train of thought, guys. I'll be honest.
I hate when that happens.
I really do. I was about to. Oh.
You'll find it. You'll find it. It
will.
happens to me as well, Thomas. So no worries. I got you here. Maybe it
Oh,
was.
I got it.
Let's go.
But yeah, the wheels, just like they do in my brain, apparently the wheels turn slowly sometimes when you have these higher time frame thematics rather than a short term one. We had the initial impulse from Trump getting elected, but you're not going to be able to forward price 4 years of positive news and catalysts, of which we don't even know, basically what they are. We're going to have positive headlines coming down the road that we couldn't even imagine right now. So I think that needs to be considered, in addition to that. But it is a bit of like a heavier boat, a heavier, wagon. So it's taking a little bit longer for those wheels to turn, just like, those macro thematics, such as the dollar and bond yields. What you cooking, Louis?
Just looking at the DXY. I'm looking for my top.
Louis trying to bonk the dollar.
Yeah.
Louis, do a trading view line makes rejection and go to
Yes.
zero.
Yes.
I feel like we get a little bounce into close on a lower time frame.
mean, I'm seeing multiple bearish divergences, right, on multiple different time frames for this move, right? And we've said this before. It could take multiple weeks, right, for the top to kind of transpire. But I'm very convinced that this is our general area for a local pivot point for the dollar, and that's what I'm waiting for, right? So because that will definitely give some relief to crypto, risk assets, even stock market, like everything. So closely lower time frames, seeing some divergences, even some higher time frame divergences. But again, these can take weeks, even up to a month to kind of play out and distribute up here. But I'm pretty convinced that the top is in somewhat soon here. And just watching for that, right? So I think it's a time period where watching the dollar is going to become more and more important, going into the next couple months. And I am watching for a similar move to what we saw during the 2017 cycle, right? We even saw it here, a little different. We had COVID and everything, so a little different, a little wonkier. But we always have these bull traps, going into the new year on the DXY. So let's see if this is one as well. I'm convinced it is, but right now, not looking. It looks strong, right? We can't deny it's looking strong, but let's see what happens. But seeing the dollar pivot here at or around this area over the next couple weeks, would be crucial for risk assets. So that's kind of what I'm watching and keeping a close eye on. Going into the next couple weeks. So let's see.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. There's so much confluence for it to go down, but I think this is a great teaching lesson as well. If you don't really know what reflexivity is, it's effectively like when expectations go further than reality. And I think that's what you're seeing right now. And this blow off leg that we're seeing for the dollar and that we're seeing for bond yields, the prevailing narrative is driving price, and there's not really anything that's going to be able to change that narrative until the things that have ironically been driving the narrative. I view it as like a proverbial sell the news event, right? The inauguration for a blow off top. It's the same concepts that we'd usually apply to a shitcoin, but we're not going to be applying to it.
Uh-oh.
I think I wrote it, but
Right,
I've said most of what I wanted to say.
For about 5 to 7 seconds, Hirak told me. No big deal. We are used to it. The first world internet.
I'm pretty confident we're going to see the dollar go basically down only for a few years after this, which, purchasing power wise, if you haven't been traveling in the last few years, for one, you've missed a golden opportunity, given how strong your currency is, but you might want to get on that.
What's going on with the the euro currency? I saw like a post or two this morning. I didn't get a chance to actually read it.
Aren't Eurozone futures getting smoked right now?
Euro is fucked.
Yeah.
Europe. Totally.
Do you think that's a 2025 thing, or maybe a little bit later on?
No, it's a long-term thing. Like, we are getting fucked for the past decade, and I do not see a trend shift just yet. Like, because we have unelected, very bad leadership, pretty much in the Europe. It's different format of election than yours, so it's not pretty thing. And the worst part is that I'm not seeing much of a shift. Like, I do see people around being pretty annoyed, but are they annoyed enough to vote for a change? Like, is there enough force to vote someone like Milei in power or at least Trump, something like that. I'm not seeing that in Europe just yet. I think it needs to get worse before it can get better, as usual.
I agree with that.
Is there a market-wide risk associated with what's going on over there, do you think?
Don't know, to be honest. I do know that the Euro USD pair needs to go up for our for assets to go up, basically.
What does the euro even look like right now, Louis? I'll be honest, I haven't charted the euro in
I've literally never charted the euro,
ages.
so I don't know.
Well, euro dollar used to be fantastic alpha for Bitcoin. I don't know.
Do you remember when euro traded below $1 in 2022?
I do.
And as much as I love football, lots of US folks are saying, listen, it's now called soccer. And I laughed so much.
No, that's real. It is called soccer now.
Is this the right chart?
Yeah.
That does look pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It must be complacency bonds now. Complacency slow.
That I don't think that could look worse. That chart looks like Europe's gonna have some turmoil in 2025, man. I can't predict the news, but just going off the currency.
Yeah, but if this chart is to nuke, that means that the XY will keep on rallying, which is essentially bearish for assets. So pick your winner here.
Well, in that case, I think it looks very bullish here, and I think it's going to bounce.
Let's go.
I think what should happen is we book our Europe vacations in this time frame. At the end of the 2020s.
Listen, this little box.
And we dump our US dollars in Europe.
This little box, Louis, is DXY at like 122 level.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good. This little box, if it were to keep going, would probably be ease at like 3 digits again.
Is there a world where this comes down and the dollar also drops, or no?
No.
Okay.
Euro USD is like 55 to 60% of the XY index.
Man, the people who have been making fun of Europeans for the last 2 years are going to hate to hear that they're going to have to save the market.
Basically. Listen, the thing is that I'm not seeing Euro being strong. So it's really just have to be that the DXY will have to be super weak.
And I think it will be. I
think so too. I think that Mr. Trump knows how to pump the market, as we have seen in the past. So we'll see. But that's kind of my bet.
Kind of a last little point I want to touch on. And Jackus, I know you've been talking about this sector as well. One of the interesting points that I saw regarding the dollar, and I forgot who mentioned it. It was either Louis or Jackus. Somebody said that Trump actually is going to want a lower dollar for negotiations. And that's probably going to play a role with China, because China needs a lower dollar to be able to stimulate their economy.
Yeah.
So I think there is a right tail risk in 2025 that the United States does some sort of trade deal with China, contrary to something most people would be expecting, which would maybe be probably a lot more restrictive.
Yeah, I think like there has been this rumor that Trump was intentionally is making the dollar stronger now so that he can negotiate with other nations. And then he's going to weaken the dollar for the trades to keep going. But we'll see. This is just a speculation right now. At the end of the day, it really depends whether the US finds a bidder for its debt or no. It needs to find a foreign bidder.
Yeah, right now it's just Tether.
It's just Tether. Yeah.
I'm joking. There are more bidders, but Tether is bidding a ton of U.S. Treasuries when nobody is. I think, and I'll continue to say, I think TLT goes a little bit lower, and then yields probably go a little bit higher as a byproduct of that. And then, we're in the midst of our blow-off legs for the dollar and for yields right now. So it's just a matter of how long does it take to reverse? What's up, Jackus?
TLT going lower means DXY higher, which means E slower. Wait, interrupt.
I mean, I would say that I'm kind of expecting most of those things. Just really the dollar past like 111, 112 at this point. It's just, to me, it's a matter of like how much these prevailing narratives want to continue to impact price over the next basically 2 weeks, probably even more like just 1 week, given the inauguration. But the narratives can definitely continue narrativing in the meantime.
Indeed. Well, I suppose like we will know in a week, pretty much. I think this week will give lots of hints of what is to come in the next ones. But I will still refer back to the fact that I still think that inevitably, fundamentally, the Trump administration is bullish for the market in general. And one last thing, you guys then can cook, is that this drop isn't crypto related.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not. So just gotta roll with the punches till then.
Just survive until Q2.
Just one more sweep of the low.
One more sweep.
Just one more survival.
I do like, I talked about this area at some point when we were talking about the VIX, right? Like this is now getting filled, which is good. So I think this is a good spot.
I'm a VIX bull here. I'm going to be honest.
Really? Well, yeah, I mean, we're kind of doing the same thing we did here, right? Where you had the big pump, obviously got crushed, came back up, filled the inefficient move, and then kind of, it did it one or two more times, but ultimately this was kind of the last kind of dead cat bounce before, trending sideways to down. So I would expect this to be the area. If it's not, then we're going to shoot up. So it either it is or we're going higher. So, that's just a level to watch for me.
I've been saying this is the wild card in everything, right? Like we have a good idea of when and where from a time perspective, and then on the chart, dollar and yields should be ending their respective trends. This is the wild card because I'm kind of viewing it this week as, or really like the next week or two as like your panic barometer. How much do people panic with the prevailing narrative right now, which is that yields are going higher, the dollar milkshake, yada, 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 all that stuff that we love to talk about. Like we always joke. How much panic is there in the meantime? Because that's literally how the VIX is going to trade for the next week. If you think that this is probably, the extent of the panic, you should just expect the VIX to range from here, right? Just like Louis pointed out, in the wake of August, we saw the VIX range for multiple months. The S&P and The NASDAQ obviously went higher during that period. If you think the panic continues, obviously we can continue to see volatility perform.
Oh, that's a NASDAQ. I thought that was the yields. Fuck. Dang it.
Yeah, the yields do not really want to sell off just yet. I think we might going to see a new like in the yields, which
Like
goes with
above
what Tommy
here?
was saying, that he expects new TLT leg down.
So like deviation of 5%.
Sorry?
So like a deviation of this high, you're saying?
I was thinking like 5.25, and that's it.
I essentially like don't really have a target here on the yields.
This will be more like data driven than TA. I mean, I know we can predict it to a large extent with TA, but
So if we get a cool CPI, which is what, Wednesday?
I don't know. We got PPI, we got CPI, we got
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
CPI is Wednesday, and I think PPI is Tuesday. So PPI will kind of tell what CPI will look like.
So I think a lot of people are expecting high, like a hot CPI print. So like if we were to get a cool or just one that's stagnant or just kind of staying where it's at, that would ultimately send this lower, right? In theory. And a high inflation would send this higher.
Well, I think we need to get a low print, but at the end of the day, we've seen the market bottom on a high print and top on a low print. So
yeah, it just seems
how the
like
market reacts to the data. I never know.
It seems like the general rhetoric that I keep hearing and seeing is that, oh, Trump inflation, right? And I feel like that's just being like, but like if we get a cool print, like that'll reverse these things pretty quickly, in my opinion, because everyone's already kind of baked in inflation picking back up, right? But if it doesn't, then the market's way off sides, right? In my opinion. So we'll see. We will see. And another thing, people talking about Trump tariffs, right, being inflationary and stuff like that, but they're not looking at the other side of the equation, which is, yes, if we're tariffing other countries, that could also increase production, right, within the U.S., right? Productivity it is essentially deflationary, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm not an econ.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But everyone wants to talk about the tariff side, but no one wants to talk about the increased productivity and increased GDP for the U.S. when companies decide to do business within the U.S. rather than doing business abroad, which is kind of the point of the tariffs, right? As well as AI, right? Increasing productivity. So everyone wants to talk about, one side of the equation, but they're not looking at the other, right? So that's just something I've noticed as well. So we'll see, we'll see how this ends. I think we find out over the next month. So, yeah.
I think hot inflation, at least how I would interpret it, if we were to have a print like that this week, obviously that would be bad in the near term, but I think that would be good for markets over a multi-year period for fairly obvious reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a knee-jerk, inflation's going up. Let me sell my assets and then go. And then it's like the reality, like, oh, wait, why am I selling my assets into the currency that's getting inflated? And then it's just back into assets. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I said that this morning today on the call too. Someone asked me, like, is inflation, bearish? And I said, short term, maybe. Long term, no, I don't think so. Because ultimately the theory behind investing in hard assets is you're escaping that inflation, right? You're escaping that your hard-earned money getting devalued through inflation. That's the number one, investing 101, right? Like, why invest if the dollar is fine, right? But if you're losing value on your dollar due to inflation, you have to escape that via hard assets, whether it's stocks, gold, Bitcoin, right? So, yeah, I'll end with that.
I suppose this is a good time to wrap the show today.
I think it is too. I think I know a few things that people could use to help them be able to catch volatility on days like today. But I'll be a little light with the shill today. I know we have had quite a violent start to the week from a price action standpoint, but if you guys are interested in joining the family, because Bitcoin family, we have a few potential options for you to do so. The first of which is the BB terminal, guys. That is your go-to tool for this cycle. Whether or not you are an active trader, a long-term investor, or somebody who loves to participate on chain and meme coins, this will be your go-to tool throughout this cycle. We continue to build on it to make it the best in class. I promise you guys, devs are actively doing something all the time with BB terminal. So make sure to check that out. We have it linked in the description below. We were nice enough. I see this comment right here. I see this comment. We were nice enough to package these things at a discount just for you, my man, so that you can get the BB terminal as well as the premium Discord, guys. But in all seriousness, I mean, we provide so much value for you guys in that Discord. It's not a signal group, but you do get access to our intimate market thoughts as things happen. And of course, 4 to 5 hours of us on calls every single day, just speaking to our community. So make sure to check that out. We have it linked in the description below. Of course, if you are looking to hone your educational base or reach trading level mastery, we also have the product for you. That is the BB Academy, guys. As far as when crypto payments will be back for premium monthly, I would have to check with Ed on that and get back to you. But hopefully I'll have an answer for you at some point this week. But yeah, make sure to check out the BB Academy as well, guys. As well as, you know, I mean, this market is very difficult. We've had a lot of downside volatility already to start this week, to start this year. And of course, picking winners over the last few months has proven to be difficult as well. So if you're interested in potentially having the team manage capital for you, we have a solution for you, and that is BB Wealth Management. That is an SEC registered hedge fund where we manage digital assets in a way that looks to capture their asymmetric history for upside returns while also balancing the downside risks posed in any financial market. So check out that as well as everything else that I just mentioned over the last 2 minutes if they piqued your interest. And of course, shoot us a DM if you have any more questions. But that's it from us, guys. We'll be back for another episode tomorrow for Market Check. Typical start time around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, but not to forget King Wabi's show Market Talk, which will be hosted through his X account as well as the Because Bitcoin X account. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So make sure to follow those accounts so you can be notified not just when we schedule those spaces, but of course also when we go live. That is it from us, though, for real this time. I'm always so bad with doing the outro. Tucker and Max do it so much better than me. I don't even know how to do the.
You're doing well, Tommy.
I don't know how to do the they loop the screen ending so perfectly, but I'm gonna try to get it just for you guys. Thank you all for being here. We hope that we could have started your week on a bright note, and of course, like I said, we will be back for another episode tomorrow, bright and early. Thanks again, guys. Stay safe.
See ya.